Okay, so this is another example of a large data set. So this is on population estimates for the UK. So we can do some data analysis based on this here. Obviously, you can filter the age groups if you want to calculate it from a smaller portion. That's absolutely fine. But if we're going to use some of our formulas that we've learned in the previous sessions, so in order to do the average or the mean, I'm going to put equals average, open brackets, and then I'm going to highlight what I want to calculate the average of. Close my brackets, press enter. Now, to save me from keep doing that for every single one, if you see here this little cross and drag it over, it calculates the average for every single one of these. So equals max, the same thing, open my brackets, I'm going to highlight what I want to calculate, press enter, I'm going to drag it over again, equals min, open brackets, highlight them, close brackets, enter, again, drag it over. I want to find the total so that I can have maybe compare totals for England, totals for Wales, in terms of my population shifts. Okay, median equals median as well. Okay, open brackets, highlight them, close bracket, enter. Go. Okay, so you can perform a variety of calculations, and then you can use this data later on in order to analyse it. So you could compare the UK overall with England, Wales. You could compare England, Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland separately. You could have a look at the average population within Wales and compare that to England. So you can see there's a huge difference in values between England and Wales, and again between Scotland, Northern Ireland. So all of those things you can calculate and you can look at. You could even, if you wanted to, produce a chart with just the averages. It's entirely up to you. You can look at the sum of the population, so it tells you the total population and then obviously what the average is in comparison to that. The minimum population is this one, and obviously that's 90 and over. The highest population age group, you can sort these as well. So that's another thing that you can do, is that you can sort the data into highest to lowest, lowest to the smallest to largest, and vice versa. If you wanted to have a look at them in order, you can also, so we know here that the average for Wales is 163,116. So you could have a look and see perhaps where that falls into within this one in terms of the closest number. We can also then look at the median, which is 182 on this one. So again, we can work out that the 30 to 34 is the median value in this case. This one here, 313, is 65 to 69. So again, you can compare. The same here, 117, so that is 35 to 39. So you could compare the median values for each of the different parts of England and Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and compare them together, looking at them. And then you could even make a comparison to the overall UK figures. Up here, there's comparisons with males and females. So again, you could compare those as well. And one of the things that you could highlight is the fact that in this breakdown here, it doesn't actually break it down into gender. So you don't actually know how many male to female ratio is within each of these demographics of age ranges. So that's something else that perhaps you could comment on. But at the bottom now here, we've got quite a large analysis that you could use in order to perform some sort of analysis with, and with all the data sets. So there's a lot of calculations that we've used here. We can also make charts from this data if you wanted to just compare, say, England, and then you wanted to do Wales. So I'm just pressing Control on my keyboard to highlight these elements. So I'm going to do that one again, because I just did that one wrong, so I'm going to highlight them again, press Control, highlight each of them. Scotland, and then Northern Ireland. And then you can insert appropriate charts. And I think that is the key, that you need to make sure that you are selecting the most appropriate charts in order to represent the data. So you can see this clustered column one is the most recommended. So if, for example, I actually click on this one here, again, we can do what we did earlier, where you right click, select the data. The series, you need to name them, so you edit. So the first one is England, and then it'll come up on the chart. The second one is Wales, and you can see at the bottom they're coming up. Scotland, and then Northern Ireland. Just going to put that for now, just to save time. Again, I can click on my plus button here, and I can put my axes titles on, which are important. They must be on them. And you can play about with these. Look, data labels look terrible. A table also looks terrible on this type of chart. I'm going to right click and I'm going to move the chart onto a separate sheet so we can have a look and see what it looks like. But as you can see, England is by far larger in terms of comparison to all the rest of them. So it's very difficult to analyse, which is why then your data that we've just analysed using the formulas is really useful on this section, so that you can actually quote the statistics and the numbers in here and do the comparison and say, well, look, you know, the average in Scotland, England and Wales is this. There is this much difference between them, and this means that England has a significantly higher population than all of England, Wales, Scotland and Ireland. However, if you look at the total population from the start of the spreadsheet, then again, that's something that we can look at. So, you know, the total for the whole of the UK is this value here. But then you can see that in terms of England, there is a large significant portion of them, and you can work that out and you can comment on that.